I used to work night shifts at a hotel a few years ago. A quiet job, but there were a few things that still mess with me. The first was the pool. Every once in a while, guests would call down, saying they heard a little girl screaming from the pool area. I'd go check. Every time, it was empty. No one there. Not even wet footprints. Just silence and the soft hum of the lights above the water. I asked the manager about it once. He said a young girl drowned there years ago. She died in the deep end, alone. The second one still gives me chills. One night, I got a call from a guest saying the room above them was loud. Someone stomping around, pacing hard like they were angry. But when I checked the computer, that room wasn't booked. No one was supposed to be up there. I went there to have a look. Room was locked but dark inside. I used the master key to open it, but it was empty. No furniture, no guests, nothing. I asked my coworker about it later. He told me the room had been turned into a storage room years ago after a woman killed her husband inside it. Thing is, sometimes, even with no phone plugged in, the front desk would get calls from that room. I don't know if I believe in ghosts. Maybe there's an explanation. But I still remember that heavy feeling when I walked into that room. Like something unseen was watching me and didn't want me there. I used to work at a hotel a few years ago. It was late evening when I got into the lift from the top floor, heading down alone. The building was quiet, the kind of silence that feels heavier at night. The lights in the hallway flickered once before the doors slid shut behind me. The elevator began to descend smoothly, humming low like it always did. It stopped on the 4th floor. The doors opened slowly, almost reluctantly. Standing outside were 3 people, a man, a woman, and a child. All just standing there. They didn't move. They didn't even blink. I was the only one in the lift, and there was plenty of space, but they didn't step in. They didn't even seem to look at me directly. I felt a sudden chill, like cold air rushing in around my feet. I opened my mouth to ask if they were getting in. But before I could say anything, the doors began to close. Just as they were about to shut completely, I heard one of them whisper softly, "Why is the lift so full of people?" The doors clicked shut. I was alone. I hit the emergency stop button without even thinking. My heart was racing. I looked around inside the lift, completely empty. Just me. No reflection errors in the mirror, no shadows. Nothing. But that voice, it was so calm, so sure. They had seen something I couldn't. I didn't take the elevator alone again after that night. My college roommate Nancy worked the night shift as a manager at a newly built hotel. It was normal for me to swing by around 1 or 2 a.m. with coffee, and we hang out and talk for a while. One night, I showed up and found Nancy sitting at the front desk, looking confused and shaking her head. I asked what was wrong, and she told me something strange had just happened. She had checked in a woman who looked exactly like our other roommate, Julie. Same height, same hairstyle, same eye color, even the same southern accent, which was weird since we lived up north. Nancy had tried to talk to the guest and even showed her a photo of Julie on her phone. But the woman brushed her off and didn't want to talk. We figured it was just a strange coincidence, especially since we knew Julie was out of town visiting her parents. So we laughed it off and drank our coffee like usual. Around 2 a.m., I left to go home. When I pulled into my garage at about 2:30, I checked my phone and saw a string of texts from Nancy, all sent at 2:17. Stop. Not funny. You guys suck. What the hell? I was confused and called her right away. That's when she told me something truly creepy. Nancy said she saw Julie and me, dressed exactly like we were earlier, standing at the end of the main hallway, just staring at her. We didn't move or say a word. She thought it was some kind of prank and kept calling out to us. But we just stood there. Then the front desk phone rang. Nancy looked away for just a second to answer it. When she looked back, we were gone. The next morning, the guest who looked like Julie came back to the front desk to ask about some services. But this time, Nancy said she didn't look as much like Julie anymore. Just a vague resemblance. And here's the part I never told Nancy. When I got home that night, I looked up at the kitchen clock. It was frozen at exactly 2:17. And right below it was a photo of Julie and me smiling. I had just developed that photo earlier that same day. I don't know what really happened. Nothing weird ever happened again. But to this day, it still gives me chills. I used to work at a small motel when I was about 17 or 18. One afternoon, I was just hanging around the front desk, not really working, when one of the housekeeping guys called me on the radio. He sounded weird and shaky, kind of breathless. He asked me to come check something out in one of the rooms they were cleaning. I went up thinking it was nothing. But when I walked into the room, the housekeeping guy was standing dead still in the middle of the room, just pointing up. I looked where he was pointing, and that's when my stomach dropped. There were bare footprints on the ceiling. Perfectly clear. Human prints. No shoes. No socks. Just bare feet. The ceiling was at least 10 feet high. The prints were right in the center. There were no smudges, no signs of climbing, and no prints on the walls. Just a clean set of footprints on the ceiling, like someone had walked across it. We just stared for a moment, both of us frozen. Then, I noticed something unusual. Sitting right in the center of the bed was a single bullet. Just one. No gun. No casing. No explanation. The guest who had stayed in that room had checked out just that morning. He left no mess, no complaint, nothing on the surface. But I never forgot that room. I still think about those prints. How did they get there? And more importantly, why the bullet? Just a few nights ago, I was at work on the night shift, sitting at my desk. It was late and quiet, just me and the glow of the computer screen. I was typing up an email to a customer when something caught my eye off to the side. At first, I ignored it. I assumed it was simply headlights or shadows. But a few seconds later, it hit me, there was someone standing at the window. A full-grown person. Just standing there, completely still, staring directly at me. My heart skipped. As I turned my head to look, they slowly moved out of view, walking off toward the parking lot without a sound. No rush, no panic, just calm, slow steps like they wanted me to follow. I jumped up and ran outside immediately, thinking maybe it was someone messing around or trying to break in. But when I got outside, there was no one. The parking lot was empty. No footsteps. No cars. Just cold, still air and that weird feeling in my chest when something's off. I checked around the building and even went to the edge of the property. Nothing. Not a soul. I went back inside, locked the doors, and tried to focus on my work, but the feeling didn't leave. For the rest of the night, I felt eyes on me. Like someone or something was still out there and watching. Not moving. Just waiting. I still have no idea who it was. Or what they wanted. I travel a lot for work, so staying in hotels is nothing new to me. There's one hotel I stay at often. It's nice and quiet, and I've never had any problems there until one strange night that still gives me chills. I had just returned to my room after a long day. I was tired and had to be up early, so I went to bed right away. Not even 10 minutes later, I started hearing a loud noise from the room above me. It sounded like furniture being dragged, like a heavy chair or table scraping across the floor. It would stop, then start again a few minutes later. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe someone was rearranging things. But it kept happening. over and over, for nearly 2 hours. Finally, I was frustrated and exhausted. I called the front desk. I asked them to check on whoever was making the noise. They told me they'd send someone from security. About 15 minutes later, they called me back. That's when it got weird. The security guard said that the room above mine was empty. No one had checked in. It had been vacant all night. I didn't know what to say. The noise started again, even louder this time. It felt closer. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed up and asked to switch rooms. I didn't sleep much that night. I still don't know what was in that room above me, or what it wanted.